Thank you, Carlos. All right, I want to bring in our A-plus panel tonight. Afia Yunus, immigration attorney, you're back with us. Good to see you. Jim McQueenie, host of New Jersey Now. Always good to see you, Jim. And former Morris County prosecutor Bob Bianchi. Cory Booker is taking the money that he got from Harvey Weinstein and some of the events that he held on his behalf, and he's giving it to, as I understand it, a domestic violence organization protecting women. But he's not giving it back, but he's putting it somewhere else. Rutgers, on the other hand, $100,000 donation, they're keeping it. What do you say?
I think that Cory Booker, Senator Booker, did a smart thing. He basically said that there's an issue here. Obviously, sexual harassment and things of this nature are a horrible, insidious act. And he's giving it to a women's group and women's situation so that the public is more aware. As far as giving money back, I don't see why people have to give money back. That wasn't illegally gotten. It was gotten from other donors. And so if they want to keep it and use it, I don't see any issue with that. Just don't use them going forward.
Jim, isn't this tainted money, though? I mean, if you're talking about a Hollywood producer who is accused of essentially pressuring women into sex, as the allegations go, or sexual acts for jobs, seems to me there's something wrong here.
All right. Hold on a minute. We're talking about L.A., first of all, right? As the L.A. agent Swift Lazar said about Hollywood, if you can fake sincerity in this town, you got it made, right? So when we're talking about Weinstein here, in that world of superficiality here, not to diminish all these allegations that everybody else has, right? You look at it a little bit and you say, like Tallulah Bankhead said about one of her rivals, pure as the driven slush. And I think that's what the categorizes.
But it's not really about L.A., isn't it about our local senators? I mean, isn't this Cory Booker just grabbing a headline, trying to make a good out of a bad, make himself look good in the face of this?
Bob hit it on the head. First of all, the money in the rearview mirror backwards, too complicated to undo. But Cory Booker is someone who's looking down the hood at the presidential race in 2020, and you don't want this to taint you going ahead. It's not about the mirror, Bill.
Keep the money, you give it back.
I would do exactly what Cory Booker did. I would keep the money and donate it to other women.
Okay. And what are we going to do from this point forward, Bill? We're going to now have a morality test for where all the money is coming from, and if you're a bad guy, or if you get convicted, or if that guy's an adulterer, okay, give that guy money back, give that guy money back. Look, they had nothing to do with any of this sexual harassment.
Bob, let's go back to Nixon and anybody who contributed to the Watergate defense fund.
Let's get it out of politics for a minute. Afia, I want to talk to you about this just for a second in terms of, how does this sound to you? I mean, in terms of sexual harassment as a woman.
I mean, it's horrible and it's deplorable what he did, and we found out that he settled behind closed doors with 8 women. So, I mean, I think that's a separate issue, though. The money is not Harvey Weinstein's money. It's money that he got from other donors. And so to now give the money, where are you going to give the money back? I mean, these are issues that...
Do you know anybody that this has happened to? I mean, sexual harassment is such a serious thing. You do?
Absolutely. And I know, you know, pretty much everyone in this world has been touched in some way by sexual harassment. So absolutely I've been touched by it. And with that, I still say that giving the money back to the same guy who was perpetrating these acts makes absolutely no sense.
Okay, let's leave it there. A Good Samaritan jumps in the rough waters off the coast of Belmar, saves someone. It involved a couple of cops, the Coast Guard, but he ended up having to go to the hospital, and he had a bill, and he asked the mayor if he could pitch in and help out. No dice. The good news is the hospital did waive the $500. We're joined now by this Good Samaritan. You may call him a hero. His name is Christian Falkenstein. Christian, welcome to Chasing News. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
All right, so I got to ask you, first of all, just tell me what the scene was. There was a rip current. You saw somebody needed help. You were playing volleyball, not paying attention. What happened?
Yeah, so I basically was playing volleyball. I went back to do a jump serve, and on my way back, I had noticed a ton of commotion going on the beach. People were pointing in all different directions, and I looked out to the water, and I saw a guy bobbing up and down, signaling his hands in a distress signal. So I looked at my partner. I said, that guy's drowning out there. I looked around. Nobody was around to make a rescue, so I headed to the water and made my way in.
I don't want this to take away from the fact that I called you a hero earlier, because I do think it is heroic what you did. You put your own safety at risk. But it did take a couple of police officers to come out and help get you and this distressed swimmer out. So at what point did you think that anybody owed you the $500 deductible?
That's pretty funny. So when I was walking out, I had seen people signal to the police officer. So it did appear that help eventually was going to be on its way. So my thought process at that time was just to keep the victim's head above water until more help, came out on its way. And it was probably an additional 10 minutes. The cop had to take off his uniform, his holster, his boots. I mean, it's like a whole production. And this guy, he was clearly struggling. He didn't have that type of time.
I know the good news is the hospital waived the $500. I think that's a good thing. They certainly should have. That's helpful. Are you expecting more bills as a result of your action?
Well, I have a $750 deductible that I have to meet for my insurance, which I would never usually use in a situation like this. And then it's 20% of all the remaining bills.
All right. Hey, it's 2017. You know what? A GoFundMe page. You'll be fine. All right, thanks.
Yeah, I'm sure everything's going to work out. I'm not too worried, but people have been very generous about, offering some donations. So
Christian, I meant what I said. You're a hero. Thanks for stepping up. You saved somebody's life. Appreciate you being with us.
All right.
All
cool.
right, take
Thanks.
care. All right, let's bring back our A-plus panel to weigh in. Jim, what do you think? I mean, the rescue crew pretty much to go to the hospital. They're like, you got to go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he has a point.
Yeah, but Bill, I have a different take on this thing.
All right, what is it?
If I lost my wallet, right, and someone brings it back, I'm going to give him a 20 spot or 40 spot, something like that, right? The other guy nearly lost his life. Why doesn't he pick up the premium, the deductible on this thing?
Now, obviously, what do you think? Legitimate claim on the money? I mean, I think the guy is definitely a hero.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a hero. That's not without a doubt. But to say that the mayor or the government should be paying you and your hospital bills is not, that can't happen.
Politicians spend and waste money all the time. This guy went in when they didn't have supervision, saved the guy, kept his head above water till law enforcement could come. I would be, if I were the mayor with one of those big checks, a key to the city, I'd be having that guy come in, hero, name the day.
So you blame the politician. Jim's blaming the victim.
Well, you know the way things are today, right, for everybody. No one wants to get involved. I'm surprised he just didn't go out and say, hey, there's somebody drowning out there, like most people would do. No, he went in and got it.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Thanks. Coming up. All right, I want to bring back our A-plus panel. Afia Yunus, immigration attorney. Thanks for sticking with me.
Thank you.
Jim McQueenie from New Jersey Now. Always good to see you. And former Morris County prosecutor Bob Bianchi. Afia, I want to start with you. Sheila Oliver was only one of 3 members of the Assembly out of 80 to vote for what has really been called the boycott, divest, and sanction of Israel. I think it's very clear that she is anti-Israel, and it may impact her. What do you think?
Well, I don't think it's very clear that she's anti-Israel. The vote was to create a panel to look at companies in New Jersey that may be part of the BDS movement or may not be part of the BDS movement. So it's more about creating this panel who is going to be doing kind of investigatory work. So I don't think it pins her against Israel in any way.
So, Jim, couple hot button issues. You've got Sheila Oliver in trouble over her comments and her visit to Cuba, where the whole Joanne Chesimard issue, cop killer, convicted, fugitive in Cuba. Now you've got this potential of an anti-Israel sentiment out there. Does it hurt her?
It really doesn't hurt her at all. And by the way, I went to Cuba because I went to see what human rights issues were, and I assume she went to Cuba for the same thing, right? And neither of us can bring back Joanne Chesimard for justice here, right? So put that in perspective. Put that
Sounds
aside.
like you went for 2 different reasons, but anyway, go ahead.
Right. On the issue of the lieutenant governor in general, in both sides, by the way, for Democrat and Republican, the state just goes, who are they? No one knows who they are. This is a referendum on Trump, then Christie, then who's running for governor right now? I mean, I hate to be cynical about it, but neither is really known.
Bob,
well.
so to that point, I mean, I look at it one way, regardless of, we don't have to have the debate about this boycott, divest, and sanction movement. I think it's very anti-Israel. But that aside, when you're one of only 3 out of 80 members of the Assembly, does this show that the Democratic side has radicalized and they're very, very far left, out of touch?
No. We're ascribing motives to things that are very complex, as we're saying, have a lot of moving pieces to them. The fact, when I looked at it, that she was one of 3, shows me she's got courage to go against the herd mentality. She had her own reasons for doing it. To ascribe that she's anti-Israel or somehow bigoted to me is a huge mistake. I don't think it means they're going far left.
Jim, how else would you describe a vote that was specific to say that we are supporting a boycott of Israel?
No Democrat that in New Jersey, if they want to get elected, is going to be really anti-Israel. And I don't think the motives, as Bob said, is really an issue of anti-Israel. I don't know what the motives really are, because she voted with some philosophy behind it, I suppose. But it's not a punitive thing against Israel. It'd be ridiculous to suggest that.
Afia, comment on this. What about this idea that these guys are out of touch? I mean, not only the Joanne Chesimard issue, which has New Jersey police very upset, the fact that she went to Cuba, you know, and I don't think it was there to sample the cigars. She was there to make a statement. Now this anti-Israel stuff. And then you add to it the Murphy campaign talking about taxes. I mean, are these guys completely out of touch with New Jersey voters?
I don't think so at all. I think this is kind of an effort from maybe an opposing side to create a smear campaign against her, kind of pulling something. When I read it, it seemed like it was coming out of nowhere. This was a vote that was over 12 months ago. She was one of 3 individuals. Again, it was for a panel that was going to look into New Jersey companies. It was not for or against the BDS movement. So I think it was really an effort to kind of find something, a needle in a haystack against Phil Murphy and his campaign.
I look at it, as to be honest with you, as a point of desperation, Bill. If you're going to go back and try to ascribe an ill motive to something that happened a year ago, you got a problem in the campaign.
A vote is pretty black and white. But let me ask you, Afia, where does the Muslim community stand on this? I mean, are you in favor of this BDS boycott, divest, and sanction Israel?
I don't want to speak on behalf of the entire Muslim community, but on behalf of myself, I stand with the UN. The UN has also sent out letters to companies around the world, including the United States, saying that if they continue to support companies that are in occupied West Bank, that there will be some ramifications for that. So I stand with the UN.
Bill, I got to just tell you this quick thing right away. This is another typical petty issue to obscure the fact that neither candidate really has addressed perhaps the biggest issue in New Jersey, apart from property taxes. It's the pension bubble in the state. We're horrible. It's a monstrous financial impact to the state. Do you hear anything from either candidate running for governor about it?
I got to say, though, to all you guys, the issue of Israel, not silly. It's not a distraction. The Israelis and the Jews have every right to defend themselves against terrorists, and that's what they've been doing. It's a shame that it's been over-politicized. I think Sheila Oliver should pay a political price for that. Afia, great to see you. Thanks for coming in. Jim, Bob, thank you, guys. Have a great weekend. Here's